To bring this up, and I hate to bring it up because it's so unpleasant, but we have to talk about this thing in Syria that happened, because everything that's happening here, I mean, this is what bothers me about this. Everything that's happening here, this Russia conspiracy stuff, and all the hysteria about that, all the refugee problems that people are having that are toppling governments, really Trump's election itself, which was so keyed in to illegal immigration, all of it goes back to Syria. And it goes back to the fact that Obama messed this situation up. Now, Obama is not to blame for Syria. Bashar Assad is to blame for Syria. The bad guys are the guys who pull the trigger are to blame. But he sure messed this thing up big time. So yesterday, evidence came out that they had used, again, poison gas, nerve gas, and they dropped it on this town, and they killed at least 58 people, 11 of them children. The pictures coming out look like they could be from, the Holocaust. I mean, just absolute atrocity and disaster. And Trump and Sean Spicer came out and they said what is true. They blamed it on Obama. Here's Spicer. It's just audio, but here's his statement.
Today's chemical attack in Syria against innocent people, including women and children, is reprehensible and cannot be ignored by the civilized world. These heinous actions by the Bashar al-Assad regime are a consequence of the past administration's weakness and irresolution. President Obama said in 2012 that he would establish a quote-unquote red line against the use of chemical weapons, and then did nothing. The United States stands with our allies across the globe to condemn this intolerable act.
So this is now. Let's go back just quickly over this. Everything Spicer said is true. Obama blew the Middle East. He really did. Not just pulling out of Iraq like that. But what happened, you'll remember, is that Hillary Clinton basically convinced Obama to go into Libya and overthrow Gaddafi, and it turned into an absolute disaster. That was what Obama said was the biggest mistake of his presidency, the worst thing that happened in his presidency. The protests in Syria started out as peaceful protests. They weren't even trying to overthrow the regime. They were just saying, give us some more civil rights. And Obama was kind of like not going to do anything. He didn't give them any support, really didn't stand up for them at all. And then Assad responded to those protests with absolute brutality, total killing, torturing, the whole thing. And then there was this kind of weak Assad must go. But we didn't do anything. Right? And Obama said, well, famously, he said, well, we'll do something if they use poison gas. I mean, that would be a red line. So let's play that quote.
We have been very clear to the Assad regime, but also to other players on the ground, that a red line for us is we start seeing a whole bunch of chemical weapons moving around or being utilized.
And then, of course, they continued to use chemical weapons, dumping chlorine gas on people. I mean, this is the stuff that they poisoned people with in World War I. This is why we have treaties. And people said, well, what about, so now you got to do something, right? What about the red line? Here was Obama's response.
First of all, I didn't set a red line. The world set a red line.
Okay, so the dog set a red line. The dog ate my homework, and he set a red line, and it's not my fault. It's like that John Belushi thing. It's not my fault. Nothing's my fault. Putin saw this. The world saw it. All these bad actors poured into Syria and started, killing people. ISIS, all the terrorists, everybody's in there. And basically, this gave Russia an excuse to go in and pretend that they were fighting ISIS. Well, what they were really doing was just slaughtering Russia and Iran, Obama's good pal Iran, who he's helped on the path to getting nuclear weapons. So now Russia is establishing, Russia, who was kicked out, the Soviet Union was basically kicked out of the Middle East. Now Russia has got a presence there again. They're helping Iran. They're killing all these people on the scam that they're fighting ISIS. What they're really fighting is anybody who is going to bring down Assad. I'm going to pause here for a moment because we're going to have to say goodbye. But before we do,